Aaron, can you hear us?
I can indeed. Thank you for having me on the show.
Thank you. You're calling from New Zealand.
That is correct.
Hi, Aaron.
Hi, Claire. How are you?
Yeah, good, thanks. Thanks so much for calling us. I really appreciate this interview.
For sure.
Now, there's been stuff in the media all around the world about Senator Xenophon coming out and calling for a criminal investigation into the practices of Scientology, and even our Prime Minister, Mr Rudd, here in Australia, has raised concerns as well. And you've been mentioned in the media. You were an ethics officer for the Church of Scientology in their Sea Orgs.
That is correct. Yes, I was.
Yes.
Yes, I was. I actually worked for them for 2 years here in Australia.
Yep.
In 89, 1990, and early 91 before I went off and worked in their American operations for a year in Florida, and then three and a half years in the Los Angeles head offices of the Church of Scientology.
Yeah. And you were a part of the Sea Org between the ages of 15 and 22.
That's correct.
Yeah.
Yes.
And you were brought up in the church?
I was.
Yes, yeah.
Oh, sorry to interrupt. Can you just explain what Sea Orgs is? I wasn't here.
Yeah, do you want to explain?
The Sea Org is an abbreviation for the Sea Organisation, literally SEA, Sea Organisation. In 1967, Scientology worldwide was was out of control, and the founder, L. Ron Hubbard, was wanted for questioning in various countries. So he literally created a flotilla of boats and in secrecy travelled around the world on these boats, controlling Scientology through telex and phone communication lines. And this organisation grew on this boat and was established as a paramilitary-styled organisation, literally with military uniforms and naval-based origins. And then when they were powerful enough, they returned to the United States and established what they called land bases. And ever since that moment, they've been in total control of the Scientology worldwide network.
Yeah. And I understand that L. Ron Hubbard said that when you join the Sea Org, you become the greatest person in the universe.
This is correct.
However, what happens when you leave?
The sheer irony of this is that when you're recruited for this organisation, you're told, we need you for life, we need you for this life, the next life, and every other life you'll have. And you do this, you're one of the most elite people on the planet, you're in the top percentage of intelligence, you're superior to your fellow man for doing this. After you join, though, you're told and shown policies that inform you that if you ever attempt to leave, then you're hurting Scientology and the Sea Org, and you're actually a degraded being.
Yep.
And these are his words.
Yeah, a degraded being.
And it's quite a. I mean, words can't. No one should call another human being degraded, especially when they dedicate their entire life to what they believe at that time is the best cause that they could be involved in.
Aaron, this is Jack. What made you go into Scientology?
He was raised.
Oh, you were raised.
I was raised into it. I did very little Scientology as a child, but when I was 15, I had my father took his own life just before I turned 15.
Right.
And the Sea organisation over in Australia and Sydney heard about this, and they sent two people over, and they read my files.
Yep.
My private confidential auditing files, and looked at the details and saw how I felt about my father's death and that I felt somehow responsible for it. And they used this as a way of recruiting me by saying, look, if you join the Sea organisation and help mankind, you can prevent this from happening to other people. I mean, you don't want other people to have their fathers die, do you?
Yeah. So they gave you a chance. They gave you a chance to think about whether you wanted to do it, or you just went straight in as a child?
No, there was such an urgency on it that there was, planet Earth, the clock is ticking for planet Earth, we must do this now. Literally, the decision had to be made right there that night within that hour, and then documents were drawn up to get me over to Australia within the next day.
Wow.
Now, I understand that the purpose of the Sea Org is to put ethics on the planet.
That is correct. It's quite a different goal from the creed of Scientology. Whereas the Sea organisation purports and puts out there the creed of the church, their own private policies, which are written but they will never release to the public, actually show that their purposes are to control and dominate and get ethics in on the planet. And not only that, but to eliminate any sources within society that are anti their activities.
Yeah. Now, we've presented a couple of months ago, we went quite into depth about the Church of Scientology, and we interviewed Carmel Underwood, an ex-Scientologist, and we had another interview with an ex-Scientologist, and we talked to members of Anonymous, which you would know about. And from what we've learned is that that there has been a lot of breaching of ethics by the Church of Scientology and the Sea Orgs. And I think you've been very honest in what you've said, what you did within Sea Org, and you've even described yourself as a monster whilst you were in the Sea Org. Do you want to talk to us about that?
Yes. And yes, I have.
I know you find this difficult.
It's difficult to talk about because it's very hard to look at yourself back and see just the sheer consequences of your actions.
Yeah.
And it took years after being out to fully awaken myself to just the sheer consequences of taking away liberties from people and the effects that then had on their lives.
Yeah.
So even some of the people I got into, I recruited people into the Sea organisation.
Yeah.
Some of these people I actually grew up with, and to this day we still do not communicate ever again, even though we were childhood friends.
Yeah.
Because of the devastation that resulted from this. And I'm afraid to say that there was no one, I want Scientologists and I want public to understand this, that there was no one in that organisation more dedicated to making Scientology succeed than me.
Yeah, yeah.
I gave my life 105 working hours per week, every week, without a break for years. I was more dedicated than any Scientologist. And yes, I did become this monster because I just had to get done what needed to be done.
Yeah.
To preserve that church.
Yeah, that's right, because I understand that what happens is that people become assets and part of a machine, that they're not seen as human beings, but actually staff members are called coins.
That's right, coins, because they have a value, like in personnel.
Yeah.
Literally, you have a ledger, we'll exchange this coin for that coin so I can get this person posted over here.
Yeah.
I think that hearing this from a public, hearing this, or even a Scientologist listening to the radio now would find this very hard to believe.
Yeah.
But the fact of the matter is that public Scientologists themselves that know of the Sea organisation won't join it because they've heard the horror stories and they see the conditions that they live in and they don't want to be submitted to it.
Yeah.
But they actually won't do anything about it either. They'll stand back and say, well, that's how they want to live, even though they're giving me Scientology, it's okay for them to live in these atrocious conditions.
Yeah.
But the reality is that most Scientologists out there that know of the SEAL wouldn't dare join it.
Yes.
And the ones that do, more than, we're talking in the history of the SEAL, there are more people that have left the SEAL organisation than have ever been in it now to this day.
Yeah.